Hi, everybody, and welcome to another episode of And Now You Know with Betty and Jules. I'm Betty,
And I'm Jules.
and today we're going to be talking about the list.
My favorite thing.
Yes, we have been talking about this list on several other episodes, and so you might be wondering, what are they talking about? So we're going to talk about the concept of the list, which actually, Jules is the one that taught me about the list. Go ahead, share a little bit about it,
But
and then I'll
since I've
interject.
taught Betty, it seems to be
Evolving, yes.
evolving. But I started the list 14 years ago, and I really call it mapping your way to love. And the analogy that I use always with anyone is, so we live in Dallas, and Betty, if you decided to go to New York, you were going to drive to New York, would you just throw your bag in the car and just hop in there and just start heading north to New York?
Nope.
What would you do?
I would map it out. I would
right.
figure out what roads I should take and what direction I should go and how long it's going to take, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and the stops you want to make, and you want to enjoy the journey while you're getting there, but you want to make sure that you get to New York. So you would map your way to New York. Why don't we map our way to love?
And by the way, you also want to mark along your mapping roads to avoid.
Roads to avoid, and you want to take pictures so you can create a beautiful memory album for your journey. And you're going to run into some storms along the way, and you just want to have a plan in place when you hit those roadblocks.
Yeah.
And when you run into stormy weather, and you just want to have your map in a way to reroute, but you want to make sure you get to your final destination.
Right.
And so I call it mapping your way to love, and it works. Y'all,
It
works.
it's what's so interesting about it is that Jules taught me the concept of this a few years ago, and when I started dating. And the funny part is that I constantly hear people talking about people that are in marriages or committed relationships or now dating somebody, the love of their life. And I hear all these different people, some celebrities, some, regular everyday people. But it's funny that I feel like it's becoming more and more of a norm.
I do too.
And,
Yep.
And I think that's so important because I don't think way back in the day, we didn't know about it. I don't think there was a such thing before. I think it's becoming such a critical, such an important part of finding your person and having a very clear understanding of what your needs and wants are.
Right.
And before you throw yourself out there.
Well, it's just like diving into the ocean without a life jacket on. You just would never go swim across the ocean without a rescue boat, or I know there are people who swam across the ocean, but they have.
Yeah, there's some level of preparedness.
Right.
Before you do that.
Right. And so why do we just so casually take the most important relationship that's going to end up being our family and our safe harbor and our memories, and why do we just throw that into the wind like it's just always in this little cute, oh, you're dating, or oh, you like somebody, but why do we take it so casually?
Right. It's true. It's funny because I saw it was an interview. I'm not sure what his name was, but there was an interview with a gentleman, and he was talking about his son in the conversation that he had with his son, talking about how the person that you choose to be with is the single most important decision of your life,
Yes.
and it will affect every part of your life. And so I don't think that we have taken it, and maybe some people have, but I don't think that we have taken it with such a level of importance and understanding.
Yep.
When you were just dating, when
I
we
know.
just jump in and start dating someone, and then we're like, oh, we want to get married or whatever. But I wish that I had that kind of mentality before, or that kind of understanding, that it really is the single most important decision that you will make in your entire life, especially not just spending the rest of your life with this person, but then also having children with this person.
Oh my gosh. And just all the things that life throws your way. I know without hesitating that if I got into a situation of serious illness, that my husband would take very, very good care of me, and I would do the same thing for him. There's just no way. Now, we want to be independent creatures, and we don't want to be waited on and doted on. But if you are seriously ill, you want to make sure you've got, I mean, not even illness. I mean, somebody that's going to support you and let you be you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whether that is, going and working at Buc-ee's or being a top producing sales rep somewhere, whatever. But somebody who loves you just the way that you are. So let's dive into the list, Betty.
Yeah. So what I'm going to say before we dive into the list is that, again, Jules had mentioned that it has evolved over time. And I'm going to give a shout out to Danny Morell, who is one of my mentors, because part of this, and we'll point out which part, but part of the list that now we have and kind of go by was kind of layered on top of the one that Jules got from her therapist many, many years ago, and then layering on the one from Danny Morell that I learned, which is awesome. So go ahead.
It's pretty cool. So in therapy, and I'd gone to therapy for a couple of years, my doctor, I finally went in and I had light back inside of me, and I was happy and I was whole. And I told my therapist, I said, I think I'm ready to jump out there into the ocean again. And he said, almost. We've got to find out who you're looking for, what you're looking for. So we need to map our way to this guy. And it took me 3 weeks to complete my list. And I felt kind of selfish on some things and I went into my doctor and I said, I feel selfish. And I said, I'm in this physical column here, and I want somebody tall. I want somebody with hair. I want somebody with light eyes. I want. And I said, I feel so selfish because these aren't things that people can help.
Right.
I mean, you can meet somebody who's not 6 feet tall and he might be the nicest guy in the world. I wanted somebody who was 6 feet tall. I don't know why, I just did. And my doctor said, there is no cap on this. This is like
there is no wrong answer.
This is like when you were a little girl and you were making your Christmas wish list. There is no gate on it. Open it up, manifest it, write it down. It's just like setting goals. So there are 4 categories in my list. You may have some additional ones, but there's financial, there's spiritual, there's physical, and then there's emotional. So I was pretty clear on all of the things I wanted, but I felt really selfish when I got to the physical aspect of it.
Well, I think it's important for you to. Why I don't think it's selfish. It's important that you're attracted to your person, right? And sometimes you're attracted visually first, and then other times where you might become more attracted to someone because of how they treat you, kind of their characteristics. And I find that very attractive when somebody is emotionally intelligent, when somebody is thoughtful and really is considerate of others. There's something really attractive about that. I love that. And there are some physical aspects that you may choose to kind of loosen up on a little bit as you're developing a relationship and getting to know someone. But I think it's important to know kind of, what are you attracted to? Right. What do you like? What do you want? What would you like to see by your side? I think it's important to just write it all down because we are visual creatures. I'm very visual. Right. And I think that we don't even give ourselves the opportunity to dream about it, think about it, like visualize it. It all starts with that. So really, really think about it first. So I absolutely think that it's not selfish. It is a huge, you're investing your whole world, your whole life into it. And so you definitely want to consider yourself in your decision.
And it's pretty cool because like with my husband, he is 6'2". He's got hair. He's got green, hazily eyes, so he's got light eyes.
Yep.
We're equally yoked in our faith, and we get up every single morning and we read a devotion and scripture, and we've got a prayer book, and we pray over our home, over our children, our grandchildren, our friends. We've got a prayer book. And it was pretty interesting because early on in our relationship, I was already getting up and spending time in the Word for myself. And Jay obviously noticed that I was doing this, and he was like, I want to do that with you. So we started doing it about 3 months into our relationship, and we don't miss a day. Even if he's traveling, uh, Jay will take our devotion, and then he'll read it, and I'll find the scripture, and I'll read the scripture, and then he'll say the prayer, and then I've got the book with our names in it, and I'll pray over the people. And so I feel like that being at the center of our marriage has made it so strong. And what's so interesting about it is that I've tried this in other relationships, but it just wasn't as natural. I mean, my husband is literally almost every single thing that I put on my list.
Yeah.
And there's just so many theories out there on writing your goals down. And
Absolutely.
This is the same thing. It's like, if you want to make $1 million this year, you're going to write down how you're going to make that $1 million or 100,000, whatever your goal is. That's the same thing this is. It's so amazing to me.
And it is a proven scientific fact. It is.
Yeah.
It is a proven fact that writing them, there's a much higher probability of it actually happening once you've written it down, because there is a level of clarity.
Yes.
You have to think about it. You have to be intentional about it. You have to visualize it. That absolutely does make it, one step closer.
Well, and it made it so clear because I've said it on a previous episode, but when I started dating, I didn't go on a date. My first one was always an interview.
Right.
And with my goals written down, when I would be talking to someone I had just met in person, I could tell right away if he was somebody that I wanted to spend more time with, to see if I wanted to spend more time with him or not.
Yeah.
And it was like wiping the windshield of my brain off and being able to see someone and knowing if he was going to be who I wanted to go on a date with the next Friday night.
Yeah. Now let me just a word of caution. This is like the roadmap, right? This is like the blueprint. This is what you're putting down together. That doesn't mean that the first person you meet is going to be the one.
Right.
I have been on dates and I haven't found the match yet.
My first one wasn't Jay. I had, quite a few interviews and only a couple of dates before I met Jay. So mine did happen fairly quick compared to some people. But I don't know. Jay and I sat down and we started talking, and we talked for 3 hours, and
it worked.
It worked. He texted me and he said, "You were an unexpected surprise. I would love to go out and take you out on a date Friday night," and the rest is history. So.
Yeah. 12 years later and counting.
Yeah.
I think for me, I think the lesson for me is that once you have your list, I have worked on my list and have kind of refined my list. With every experience that I have, the list changes a little bit, because then I learn.
It is a living, breathing.
I learn more about me. I learn more about what is important to me, what I'm willing to maybe be flexible on, but also, you don't know some of these things until you have experiences with people, and then here comes the clarity. So then you can write it on the list.
Right. Like I went out with one guy who had 12 kids.
Right.
So I went home and wrote down, I do not want a guy who's got 12 kids.
Right.
He was a nice guy. He was cute too, but I don't want 12 more kids.
I agree. That would not work for me either. But the important thing is, once you have that list and you are going to continue to refine it, for me, and we've said this in a previous episode, I would rather be single. I would rather be single than to be with somebody that I'm not equally yoked with, that we don't have the same values. So what's important about the list is, yes, it might happen quicker, could happen on your second or your third or your fourth, attempt. But if it doesn't, don't be discouraged, because that's where I am. Where I am is that I'm not discouraged, because I know that my perfect match is out there. I'm not looking for perfection. I'm looking for my perfect match, somebody that I'm equally yoked with, somebody that shares my values, that we have the same kind of values and vision for life. Those things are important to me. And so let's talk about some of the other categories. So we talked
Yeah.
about the physical. We talked about, I'll mention the spiritual. That's really important.
It is.
Although if it's not your primary area that you're really focused on, it doesn't have to be, but the point is that the other person, it should be a priority on you, on theirs, if it's a priority on yours.
Yeah.
So it's really about that. Her list is not the same as mine.
No.
Something that might be her, top two that is like non-negotiable for her, I might be flexible on. So it's not necessarily about ours matching, but it is with the other person.
Right.
It has to match with them.
Well, and Jay did not want to go out with someone who had a younger child. And my son at the time was 10. And Jay and I met online. He viewed me, but he did not wink. And I've probably already said this, so sorry if I'm repeating, but I did reach out to him and only him. So I listened to my gut again. We believe in listening to the gut. I call it the Holy Spirit. And I did send him a message through the online app, and I just said, hey, just curious. I'd love some constructive criticism. Why did you view me but pass me by? And he gave me a lame answer that wasn't the truth. But then when we were on our interview date and we were there for so long, I said, oh my gosh, I've got to go pick up my son. We've been here so long. And he said, that's why I didn't want to go out with you. I didn't want young kids. But he said, but now I'm stuck and I have to go out with you. I'll overlook the 10-year-old.
Yeah, and that's something that for me, I say the same thing. My kids are teenagers, and I really, I'm really not looking for somebody in like single digits, that has single digit children.
Yep.
But at the same time, when you do meet the person, maybe that's an area that might be a little bit flexible. I don't think it's going to be for me, but I'm saying it was for him because you guys were so aligned.
We were.
And it was such a great match that he knew what he saw in you was super valuable and very rare.
Same
and very
for
rare.
me too. Yeah. And I mean, that wasn't our first. I mean, he had gone out with several women. It didn't work out. I had gone, like I said, on several interview dates and then actual dates with a few. But they just still. They were kind of Mr. Right for right now, not Mr. Right forever. Mm-hmm. And it was a dinner and maybe a glass of wine, and they were pleasant evenings, but that's as far as they went. And I don't know, it just became very clear in my mind who I was looking for, and I knew that when I was looking at him, I would know that he was the one. Now, we dated for almost 4 years, and we neither one of us were into rushing anything, and I'm glad that we did because it gave he's got 2 kids, I've got 3. It gave our family, our children, my mom, my sister, his family, a chance to get to know us and really cast their votes on whether they wanted it.
And everybody wanted it.
Yeah,
everybody was all
everybody
in.
wanted it. Then that was the only time in my life in a relationship with someone that I got full 10 stars. Jay got 10 stars.
Support and and I think that's awesome, especially when it is, your next chapter, right? And there's a lot more people to consider. It's not just you and him. Now it's children.
Extended family,
blending,
but
which is not very easy.
The other thing that was kind of scary for me, and kudos to Jay for not looking at my resume and taking it seriously, because who wants to take a chance on somebody who's been divorced as many times as I've been? But what Jay looked at, so this is why it's important. If you know that you've got a root inside of you that needs to be dealt with, when you meet that person, the only reason that Jay gave me a chance is because he saw the work that I had put in. He also saw my commitment in my last marriage and how I didn't just get married and run off. I worked hard at it, and I wanted to make it work out. I didn't want the divorce, but it was a situation that was, it was pretty critical that I get out for me and my kids. And so I did, and it was a big, harsh, scary move on my part to get out of that.
Yeah.
But I knew, but I needed that to happen in my life to go and do the work. So I'm thankful for it. I'm not thankful for the damage that it did to my children, but I'm thankful that it's put me here today. And I'm thankful that Jay saw the effort and the work that I put in to be whole for when I showed up in his life.
Yeah.
And he gave me a chance. So,
Well, and with you saying that, that is honesty.
Yes.
That is communication.
That is.
Authenticity. That is
Raw.
Raw and
Painful. Bringing it out of the dark.
Yeah, and there are going to be some things that, if you feel like this could be somebody that you're interested in, please don't omit. Don't leave, facts out. Don't leave information out that are significant, because that is the wrong. I mentioned this in a different episode that we did. I was seeing somebody that did that, and it wrecked it for me. It wrecked it for me because I felt like it became not only an omission, but then it was a blatant lie, and then it became, deceit, and then it just kept going. So, if there's something ugly, if there's something that you are, it's, we all have pasts. We all have, as your grandmother would call it, a bag of shit. We all have
big old huge bag of shit in the backyard.
So
the older you get, the more shit that gets
totally
piled up in there.
We all have experiences, especially if you're dating in your 40s, your 50s, your 60s, and beyond. We've all lived previous lives.
Right.
We've all have all of these things that are following us through, and I feel like at this point, honesty is going to be the key. If there are things that you're afraid to tell the person because you're afraid to be judged, you probably should lead with those things.
Right.
Because don't leave them out. Because it's not going to get easier to say it 6 months or 12 months down the road. You should probably lay it all out early on, and you know what? Be unattached to the outcome.
Yeah.
You can't control. I mean, it already happened. You can't take it back.
No.
So whatever happened in the past, lay it out there. And if it doesn't work for them, that's fine. Just know that there is somebody out there. This is what I believe. I believe this for me. There is somebody out there that will be able to accept you fully as you are. You don't have to lie. You don't have to omit. You don't have to sugarcoat. You don't have to dance around it. You can share your truth and lay it out there, and the one that is for you will accept it fully.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so we did the interview date, and then we went out on a real date. So interview date, and then Friday night, real date. And we were chatting, and Jay said, I need to tell you something, and it might make you decide that you don't want to go out with me anymore. And he had just been diagnosed with cancer. And so
that's a big one.
It's a big one. And I'm not going to get into the details of that. He is fine. He's cancer free. And we lived through it, and I'm getting a lump in my throat. But at that moment, and his honesty and his vulnerability, I looked at him and I said, well, I have my own form of cancer. And it was hard to tell him. I didn't tell him this on the interview date. I said, I have my own form of cancer. And when you hear this, you might not want to be with me anymore. And he said, what? And I said, if we move forward down the road and we end up getting married, you'll be my fifth husband. He said, I think I'd rather have my cancer. And I said, but I'm in full remission. I've gone through all my treatments. I've gone through chemo, radiation, surgery, the works.
Yeah.
And I'm good.
Yeah.
And so we both gave each other a shot, and that communication level was on my list.
Yes.
Big time.
Can you say those categories again for somebody
financial, emotional, physical, and spiritual.
Okay, so let's get a little specific, just for everybody watching.
Okay.
Let's get a little specific on, here are your categories.
Yep.
And now tell us a little bit about how you dive into each one, and then I'm going to add on the layer that I learned from dating Morel.
So for me, financially, it was important for me to have a man who had great work ethic.
Yep.
Who could be the man. I wanted to play the roles. I do not mind helping financially at all. As a matter of fact, I love it. I like having my own individuality. I like having my own money. I like contributing. I've got 3 boys, and I like to do things for them. Jay's got his 2 daughters. He likes to do, and I don't want anyone to tell me what I can and can't do for my kids, and I like to do for his kids now too. So that was critical to me, the work ethic and just being a good provider. I didn't need a guy who had gazillions of dollars. I had a bit of a heartburn in that particular category because I have found some men in not my relationships, but in others who made their money before meeting the gal, and then made her feel like it was all his, and it became a way of control and manipulation.
Right.
So,
And there is a such thing as financial abuse.
yeah, and so that wasn't, if I had met a guy that was super sweet and had all the money in the world, that would have been cool. But I wanted somebody with good work ethic. Okay, spiritual, it was super simple. I needed somebody who loved Jesus as much as I love Jesus, and was committed to going to church, and would be willing to serve. I believe in tithes and offerings. So I needed a man who was equally yoked in loving Jesus like I do. Physically, I wanted tall, I wanted hair, I wanted light eyes, I wanted somebody who was in good shape, I wanted somebody who believes in moving, because I want to grow old in a fit way, and
enjoy life, healthy.
Enjoy life. And my husband lives life large because he has experienced cancer twice, and so he has faced death that way. And so he lives life large, and he is very, very, very active and fit. My eldest son is a professional race car driver, and Jay gets out there and races, and it's a workout, let me tell you, and it's fun, fun, fun. And then emotionally, he did not know the 10-year-old that he met whenever we started dating. I needed somebody that was going to get in there, and my sweet boy had ADHD and some defiance disorder and some other things. And then I had a son with special needs who has no behavioral issues. And Jay's got a daughter who was a combination of both of those things. Now, that was not on my list, but I needed somebody who was strong and who wasn't going to let the shoe drop when things got hard, because things get hard in a marriage. And so you tie all these things up that are on your list, and especially your spiritual one, and you make that the center of your marriage and of your home and of your relationship. Jay and I have just been able to live in this little bubble, he and I, and we've got all these things going on around us, but they don't penetrate our relationship and our marriage because we have such an open line of communication. And there are some ugly, ugly, ugly things that I will not share. They are just between me and Jay, that happened in the past for both of us, that we put it all out there because we did not want anything in our bag of shit to come and bite us on the booty ever. And it is such a great place to start, and to have that information and that communication and that trust and that authenticity. And man, does it give you a great place to be vulnerable with your person in life, and just be able to lay your head down on your pillow at night and be able to look at yourself in the mirror and just know everything's right in the world for you and your family. So that's why the list is critical.
So I'll share a little bit about the list, the things that I have heard from other sources. There's a really great coach that I have followed on social media over the years. His name is Matthew Hussey, and he's on social media.
He's so good.
He's awesome. He's on Instagram. He's on YouTube. He's everywhere. But he has so much. The advice is so amazing, and years worth. And you can go YouTube his name or Google his name. But he says the same thing. He always talks about the list. And it's funny. I recently saw the interview between Benny Blanco and Selena Gomez, and it's funny. Benny Blanco was talking about writing his list. His therapist had him write his list, and it was way before there was no talk of them dating.
That's me. Yeah,
you do the list way before, not when you're dating someone.
Right.
You do the list way before, and that's so that you know how to kind of sift and filter through the people that you're meeting. So I love that it is now much more commonly used because it's a blueprint. It is your roadmap.
It is.
Okay, so now part 2 to the list is you have your 4 categories. You get very clear on the things that are important to you, the things that you want the other person to, have, and again, values, vision, beliefs, work ethic, those kinds of things. Those are big pillars. Those are big foundational, things that you can't change someone later. You can't meet someone and then say, I'm going to make them believe X, Y, and Z.
No.
It's not going to work
They've
that
already
way.
got to be there.
Yeah, so you have to have all of that. So the next part that comes with it, what happens is you take the list that you already have that is in your back pocket, right? You already have it. And then when you meet someone and you start talking and you think that this person is of interest to you and you think that maybe you want to pursue them further, then what you do is now you have to, by category, rate them from 1 to 10. And the big deal here is it has to be 9 or better. It has to be 9 or better. If it's not 9 or better, this is where it's not going to work out. And the reason why it has to be 9 or better is because now this is where you have the opportunity to match with someone that even when it gets hard, even if there's any kind of, whatever situation that comes up, because you have been able to match with them so well, there's much more of a solid foundation to begin with, right? And so somebody that maybe doesn't love Jesus and doesn't want to go to church and doesn't want to serve and doesn't want to do all that, and you rated them a 2 when you were dating, but you wrote on the list that it was one of your primary, you already know it's not going to work well.
Right.
You already know you're now going to have to sacrifice your own vision and values and beliefs. You're going to have to sacrifice that for yourself, for this other person. Then you're going to end up resenting them for it.
Well, that's what makes it hard when you get into a marriage, because you ignored these things that are important to you. And then you kind of pull the rug out from underneath their feet because you made them think it wasn't important. Then you get them and you're like, this is important.
Right.
And that's when all the headbutting and arguing and just the hard, and then you're in it.
Right. And this is when it becomes where you're now creating this unnecessary conflict, unnecessary pain, unnecessary struggle, unnecessary, all of the things that don't need to happen if you're very clear from the beginning.
Yeah.
So again, you have your list, you have your 4 categories, and when you meet that person, rate them.
Yeah.
Rate them. You're not saying that they're a bad person, but maybe they're just not your match.
They're not your person. I mean, you don't want to start off going to New York and then somehow or another you end up in
California.
I mean, not that California is bad,
Right.
But
it's
wanted
not
to
what
go
you
to
were
New
going
York.
for. Yeah, yeah.
So we are making it simplistic by saying that, but that's how simple it is. Honestly, I am saying this from a place of experience. I made it ridiculously hard on myself.
Yep.
My poor mother, my poor sister, my poor children, my poor friends, my poor everybody who thought I had everything together, which I did, except for that.
Right.
Except for that.
And I totally agree. And when I learned the layering aspect of it, I
love that.
Well, I was seeing someone, and and in a group session, I was talking to Danny about it, and Danny said, "Okay, we're gonna rate this person." And so literally, we looked at all these different categories, and I started rating them. And what I realized is that they were literally between a 3 and a 5, and I think there was one category that was a 2, and
I know which one it was.
and then I felt like, why am I trying to like fool myself into this? Because it's very clear. If I can't be shouting from the rooftop 9 or better,
Right.
then it's very clearly not going to work out for the long run.
Right, because I think that we get into this vortex of just having a warm body and company. Don't settle.
Don't settle.
Don't settle for just the warm body.
You've heard us say this before. It's better to be alone
Yep.
and have total independence and freedom than it is to be in a relationship and feel alone. Because you match with somebody that is not your match. That is a forever struggle, and you might fool yourself into thinking that it'll all work out, but it doesn't ever work out because you already knew from the beginning. Again, if you listen to your gut, you knew from the beginning that it wasn't going to work, and you were really in love with the hope and the potential. Well, when we are at this stage of life, forget about the potential.
No.
Forget about it. We've all been living for 4 decades, 5 decades, 6 decades, whatever it is, and there's no more hoping and wishing that 5 years and 10 years, and it doesn't mean you're wasting precious time.
Yep.
Well, you're wasting time.
Don't settle for pockets of enjoyment in a relationship when you can have the whole coat.
Yeah.
That just came out. I've never said that before, Betty. That's a
new one.
thing.
That's a new one.
But in my previous marriages, there were good times. There were great times. But there were a lot of bad times too. And in my marriage now, it's just smooth sailing all the time. And just, I look forward to seeing him, and I look forward to telling him about my day, and I look forward to, I wanted to buy a new laptop just today, and he just bought me a brand new laptop.
Yeah.
But
I've converted her over to
laptop.
Apple products. Now she has a MacBook. Yeah.
And so this morning we prayed, and then I said, Jay, and he was like, go get it.
Yeah.
Because he knows that it's going to help me and Betty and what we're trying to accomplish. And it's just so nice to have somebody that...
So he's supportive. He's so loving.
Yes.
He's so supportive.
And
we need to show the mugs on the... Okay, we'll show it on the next one. But he was so thoughtful and so sweet. He got us a little, when we launched the podcast, he got us these cute little... It's super cute. We'll show it to you on the next one. Yeah. But,
So, this went by so fast.
It went by so fast. And I'm just going to say, one thing that... I constantly hear all the time that people say relationships are hard, and you just have to kind of suck it up and deal with it and whatever. And, I choose not to believe that. I choose to believe that really we overcomplicate things.
We do.
We make relationships be so much more difficult and so much harder.
We don't pay attention.
Because we're not listening to our intuition and we're not moving in the right direction.
And we're not being... we're not focusing on it. We're not making it, we're not giving it the attention and the focus and our hearts. We're not giving it the attention that it deserves.
Right.
This is your love.
Yeah. I mean, it will affect everything. Single part of your life.
And if you dive into something that just think that you love them, we confuse lust and love all the time, period. And that lust thing goes away after about a year and a half. It just does. And then you're in the real world, and a lot of people rush into it, and then you've got a baby there. You think it's not going to have a rippling out effect on that kid and their life, and it ripples out to the universe. And I personally believe that it is the enemy, the devil, Satan. He loves to destroy the family and that root, because if he can destroy at that place, then it just is an explosive generational going on forever. So we are just trying to be a voice in this to stop the generational curses that are going on in broken families and broken relationships,
and honestly,
when it doesn't have to be that way.
Totally agree. Not only... It's not just for you, it's for generations to come. It's for your children, it's for their children, and moving forward. So think of the list as not only a wish list, but also think of it as protection for yourself.
Your legacy.
Your legacy. Prioritize yourself. Prioritize the things that are important to you. They're important to you for a reason.
Yep.
Don't bypass your values. Don't bypass, those things. Don't set them aside and just hope that something happens. No. And I will tell you, I think I've said this in another episode, that at any time when you are making a decision, if you feel like in any way you are betraying yourself, it is not the right direction. You are not going in the right direction.
And
if
you're
you
going to feel
like,
it.
yes.
And you can sit there and tell me all day long that you were unaware. You can't lie to me.
Yeah.
Because I lied to
know.
myself so much in my life.
Yeah.
And
deep down, you know.
You
don't
know.
want to know, but you know.
But,
deep down,
you
know.
just want this guy to work out so bad.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're saying choose yourself. We're
Yeah.
saying choose you and wait for the right person to match with. We're just saying that you're worth it. We're saying
are worth it.
that you're valuable.
He's worth it.
Yes.
He's
and
worth it.
The person that you're looking for is also looking for you.
Yep.
That's what I literally hold on to because I'm not going to settle. I'd rather be alone.
Yep.
I'm not going to settle. I actually love myself and I love my life. And so for me, I feel like that person is being prepared for me.
Yep.
That person is also looking for me.
Yep.
And so when we find each other, we will know.
Well, you know my story. My firstborn son, the minute he was born, I started praying over him and I started praying for the girl in his future. And let me tell y'all, my daughter-in-law represents God's amazing love. And
Yeah, she's pretty awesome. We love her.
and just what God will deliver if you have faith and you wait. I wish I would have said that prayer over myself, my heart, and my future husband's heart. It took me a long time, but I finally did, and I got Jay. And this works. This is no joke.
Yeah.
So get your list going.
Yes, so get your list
Financial, emotional, spiritual,
emotional.
and emotional.
Yeah. Those are the categories.
and they've got to be
then-
hitting on all four cylinders.
And they have to be
Boom,
hitting
boom,
on all
boom.
four cylinders. And when you meet someone that you feel like is worthy of, kind of measuring up to the list, then you're going to start rating them. And we highly, highly encourage every category has to be 9 or better.
And remember, it's your biggest wish list in your life. You don't need to cut any corners. Go for platinum.
Yeah.
Go for platinum.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Okay, so we're going to wrap up now, but if you have any questions, any comments, anything you want to share, be sure to write your comment down below, or you can send us an email directly. Our email address is hello@bettyandjules.com, BETTE.
And JULZ.
Yes, and we'll have it on the description box below. I think that's super important because our names are spelled so uniquely, and so
Yeah.
we want to make sure that your emails get to the right
Yeah.
place.
And we just would love to hear anything. Please subscribe. Tell your friends, tell your moms, your sisters, your aunts, your cousins, people walking down the street. Tell them
Yep.
to come and subscribe and join us. We are here to help you map your way to love.
Yep, we are, and thank you so much for joining us, and we will catch you on the next episode. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.